thank you all for coming to this today. This is really an awesome day for us at the Texas Advanced Computing Center, and I appreciate all of the nice compliments that I've been given, but I want to point out that this has been a tremendous team effort. We've had an enormous amount of success over the past 6 years, and I'm happy to brag about that because they say, as they say in Texas, it ain't bragging if it's true, and we've really done a stupendous job, but we've done it as a team. And so I would like to point out that everybody you see that's wearing one of these little Ranger badges today is actually on the staff of the Texas Advanced Computing Center. It's several times larger staff than it was when I got here in 2001. There are over 70 people on the staff now. We are growing fast. We probably have to hire probably about 10 more by tomorrow, I think, based on the open positions we've got. So I really want to thank everybody on the team first before I even begin, and in particular acknowledge Dr. Carl Schultz and Dr. Tommy Minyard back here, hiding in the back, but absolutely on the forefront of the project. So now, what are the odds that this is going to work? Hey, how about that? So just a little bit about today. Some of you maybe have been to some dedication ceremonies that we've had before, and so you know this wasn't a one-time thing. We've really spent considerable effort over the past 6 years getting to this point. We've had a number of firsts in that time. We deployed the first power open architecture system in the United States from IBM across the street from TACC back in late 2002, the first one available to the open science community. We deployed the first large-scale Linux cluster available to the open science community as part of the TerraGrid. We've had a number of firsts in our own R&D efforts in-house. We've hired now 20 PhDs who are conducting innovative research and development activities in advanced computing technologies. We, of course, competed for and won the right to join the National Science Foundation TerraGrid a few years ago. So there have been a number of successes and developments enabled by this team, and it's really nice to see them all coalesce into what is easily the biggest and most important day in our history, which is the awareness of the recognition of the system today. I want to just say that I'm really grateful for working with this team, and we really do have now the expertise and experience that really the University of Texas deserves and the national science community needs. So we're really excited about this opportunity. I want to point out that this exists in a culture at the University of Texas that has undergone a dramatic change in the last 6.5 years. So I still remember about 7 years ago when Tinsley Oden convinced me to think about coming home. I did my graduate work here at the University of Texas, and I met with Juan. And by the way, that was not the charge Juan gave me when I got here. And I remember meeting with them and thinking, well, there's a lot of work to do, but it is the University of Texas at Austin. And it's in Austin, Texas, home to great technology companies and with great expertise in the community as well as the university. So it's certainly possible. So when I got here, the culture was not really one of scientific computing, although it was world-class in many other respects. Over that last 6 years, though, one of the things that's enabled us to succeed is the support and the culture change here at the University of Texas at Austin, the tremendous growth in places like the Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences and the growth in computational programs and the Jackson School of Geosciences and the College of Natural Sciences and the Cockrell School of Engineering. And I'm really proud to say that we've been a big part of that. When I first got here, the amount of externally funded research that was conducted by principal investigators using TACC was about $15 million a year. Now it's about $200 million a year, so you can see the impact of TACC on external funding here has been tremendous in that time. So let's talk about, whoops, there's a little bit of latency here. Ranger, and I wanted to make sure that I showed you some of these big numbers here. It's a $59 million award from the National Science Foundation. As Juan said, it was in September 2006. We started planning for this at the end of 2005 and submitted the proposal in February of 2006. It's 504 teraflops of peak computational performance, half a petaflop, provided by these brand new AMD Barcelona, well, now called AMD quad-core processors. I'm quite sure we have more of these than anyone else in the world. We have nearly 16,000 of these processors and constant requests from people to access our system because they can't quite get one yet and they want to have access to one. And I said, well, we've got a few. It's also got over a petabyte of disk and over 120 terabytes of memory. These are equally important for making it a powerful supercomputer. This enables us to conduct the largest simulations, not just of any open science system in the world, but of any supercomputing system in the world. So by most metrics, I would call this, without a doubt, the most powerful and general purpose supercomputing system for research ever. As was mentioned before, it's got over 500 million processor hours per year of compute capability, which means over its computational lifetime, it'll do over 200,000 years of computational work. That is a tremendous capacity that has been enabled by the National Science Foundation program to give the nation's leading researchers the instrument they need to conduct leading-edge computational science. And it really is a national resource. It's funded by the National Science Foundation, and it will enable the national open science community to conduct the kinds of simulations that they've been dreaming about and putting into reports based on federally commissioned panels saying that we need these kinds of systems to do these kinds of problems, problems that span science and engineering disciplines and reach deeply into society as well. It's really going to enable a large number of applications. On this slide, I just have a few of the kinds of applications that are already running on Ranger. The demand for Ranger was so great that we tried to limit the early user program to about 6 to 10 people originally, 6 to 10 research teams, sorry, originally, to use the system. And that grew to 12, and it grew to 15, and it grew to 18, because we just couldn't say no to some of these really interesting projects that said they'd been waiting so long for a system like this. They promised to do whatever we asked them to do in order to get access to the system in December. So their Christmas present for those 18 research groups was they got access to the system in December. Now, we asked them, of course, not to treat it as a production resource at that time, but just to do some testing and give us feedback. And we noticed some of these research groups running code after code, application after application, not doing testing, doing production computational science research because they could not wait. So in fact, when we report our numbers for usage of the system, we probably should go back and look at some of the so-called test period numbers because so much science actually got done in that phase. Of course, the installation is complete. We went into full production on February 4th. It's really the time for impact now, though. So we're marking today as a celebration of deploying and installing the system. But the real celebration is going to be over the next 4 years, every time researchers are enabled to accomplish simulations they could not have otherwise conducted, leading to knowledge discovery. That's really why we're in this. We're enablers of scientists and engineers in all disciplines. We want to help them conduct world-class science that increases our understanding of the world and has a direct impact on it. So you'll be hearing a lot more from us over the next 4 years. There may not be a singular ceremony like this, but you'll see articles and publications and presentations on the output of the great scientists who are going to be using the system over the next 4 years. And as I mentioned, it's already in production now. I'm happy to see Dr. Omar Gattas in the front row here. Omar is a good friend of mine. I still remember when we were recruiting him to come to the University of Texas, and he joined the Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences. And Omar and I got into a conversation about whether or not he should come here, which is really a no-brainer. And I explained that to him, and that this was really going to be the leading computational science university of the 21st century in the world. And in fact, you know, part of that was to get Omar here because he helps make it that way. And so with researchers like Omar, we're already conducting very large-scale simulations. This is some images from a code that his team has developed that does adaptive mesh refinement. That's a very important technique in supercomputing, not just for his work in modeling convection in the Earth's interior, but for many other applications as well. And so Omar's work is actually going to benefit not only his own studies in geosciences, but downstream many fields of science that are using supercomputing resources like those at TACC. Well, that was about the early universe and the Big Bang, and it looks pretty dark too, doesn't it? Can you make out the colors in this light? Yep. Okay, good. This is Dr. Volker Brahm's work. He's also a researcher here at the University of Texas at Austin that got early access to the system, and he's doing some very innovative work in the origin of the galaxies and the creation of the very first galaxies. And so the astrophysicists, to which I'm maybe a little bit partial since my graduate degrees are from the University of Texas at Austin in astronomy, have been early and big users of the system, and they're great for shaking it down. They have the biggest problems of all. They're starting with the universe as their simulation playground, and they've been tremendous in helping us test the system and debug it and conducting world-class science along the way. So Ranger will operate for 4 years. The response has been tremendous. We already have over 500 researchers from not only across the nation, but through collaborations from around the world that are accessing Ranger right now. In fact, we have a portal page that's up and running, and you can go click on it, and you can see that Ranger's in production, and you can see that it's doing science 24/7, 365 almost. There's plenty more to come, and I want to echo the thanks. In closing, I want to echo the thanks of everybody that came before me, but really in my own way, because we've been the recipients of this tremendous opportunity and responsibility, and it really is an awesome responsibility and an incredible professional opportunity to be here today. First and foremost, I really need to thank the National Science Foundation. They have implemented a visionary strategy for providing a national cyber infrastructure to enable researchers at any institution, regardless of their local facilities, to have access to the most powerful tools and instruments for computational science possible. And as a component of that vision comes this Track 2 program that's deploying these vastly larger HPC systems. We're very proud to have competed for the first one of these systems and been awarded it, but this really comes through the National Science Foundation's vision for enabling science in America. Obviously, we owe a great debt to Sun and AMD. We looked over the landscape. We looked at the solicitation requirements. We had to decide on what we thought was the best architecture for the right schedule for the national science community to be integrated into the Terra grid, and we were absolutely wowed when we met the Sun team and we saw the design for this system and the aggressive time scale they had. We were particularly wowed when we met people like Andy Bechtolsheim and heard the passion with which he talked about this system. It wasn't somebody talking about a system that would be deployed in data centers, although the technologies will benefit that. It was another person, a kindred spirit, who was passionate about what the system could do. Andy's even more passionate about the hardware details than we are. He's taught me more than I ever want to know, and I've promptly forgotten about InfiniBand cables and things like that. But suffice it to say, it was an elegant design. It was a fantastic opportunity. We were pleased to partner with them. And likewise, Advanced Micro Devices. You know, I noted before I came back to the University of Texas for this position the presence of the tremendous technology companies in Austin. Sun has a big outfit in Austin. AMD has, well, I always tell people it's headquartered here. I guess that's not technically true on the mailing address, but Hector lives here, and most of the execs live here, so I consider them an Austin company. It's been a pleasure to work with them as well, and we were very excited to be the first large-scale deployment of these quad-core Opteron processors. Of course, the Institute for Computational Engineering and Sciences has been instrumental in this proposal as well. Omar is serving as one of our co-chief application scientists, and Jim Brown is serving as our chief technologist for this project. So they're going to make sure that we don't just deploy a big system, but the absolute best science gets done out of this system, and that we even enable computer scientists to make sure that they're able to contribute to this ongoing process and use this as a platform for innovative computer science research that helps drive the applications community's results forward. Of course, Arizona State and Cornell University, the directors of those centers, Dan Stanzione and Dave Lifka, Dan Atkins already thanked them, but they're personal friends of mine, and I was very pleased to be able to work with them on this project. And really, the fun times are beginning. They've been begging to help us throughout the deployment, but that's the part that really has to be done locally. The fun collaborations really begin now as we work together to figure out how to enable science. And finally, the University of Texas at Austin. This is my alma mater, too. And there's something about the University of Texas that gets in you. You end up wanting to come back, and it ends up becoming an easy choice if you get a great opportunity to come back here and contribute to making Texas #1 in something. And so this really was, in some ways, our national championship. We were happy to compete for this. We think we won it a little bit closer than Vince Young scurrying across the goal line on the last play of the game. We like to think this was a rout. We think we did a great job on this, and we're really looking forward to proving it to all of you as you see the science come out of this system over the next 4 years. So again, thanks for sharing today with us, and I look forward to talking with you in more detail after the ceremony.